everyone, and welcome back to Sportsbook Review's coverage of Euro 2020. I'm your host, Martin Green, and today we are previewing the final four games of the group stage. We have got Sweden versus Poland in St. Petersburg, Slovakia versus Spain in Seville, Portugal versus France in Budapest, and Germany against Hungary in Munich. Delighted to have George Gamble alongside me once again, plus new signing Matt Clark from La Liga Lowdown. We've had many experts from La Liga Lowdown on this show, including last week, who did a great job, but I've got a feeling that Matt's going to be the best of the bunch. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Thank you for that introduction, Martin. I'm Matt Clark. I've been part of La Liga Lowdown for a couple of years now. As you know, we cover Spanish football in detail, and really happy to be a part of this show.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, as you mentioned, you're a Spanish soccer or football expert. I'm wearing my Spain kit just to get in the mood today. What's been your analysis of the national team's performance so far during this tournament?
I think it's been underwhelming, to say the least. I think it's been very passive. They've obviously struggled for goals, and the 6-0 win over Germany seems a very long time ago now. There's more questions than answers for Luis Enrique, and they really need a result tomorrow, because otherwise they could be facing either elimination or a very tough draw in the next round.
Indeed. Well, on that note, George, I'm going to put you on the spot again, just like we did with Italy in one of the previous shows. So I'm going to read out the odds. I've got Spain, stage of elimination, quarterfinals, plus 225, last 16, plus 275, semi-final at plus 550, embarrassing group stage elimination at plus 650, or you can get 10-1 on them finishing runner-up, or 10-1 on them winning it. If you were given £100 or $100 free bet right now, which one would you go for?
So you love putting me on the spot, don't you? I swear it's just the favourite part of the show for you.
Yeah.
For me, well, you never know. They could do a Portugal, couldn't they? Draw all of their group stage games and then end up in the final and winning it. Who knows with Spain? But for me, they're just lacking a bit of bite up top. They keep the ball so well still. They do fashion some opportunities, but they're just not clinical in the slightest. Even a penalty they weren't able to score at. I don't know. For me, I just feel like they're going to come up against sides later on that are just, if they get a chance, they will take it, and that are far more vicious up front than them. They need to sort that out if they're going to get far in this competition. So it all depends on who they draw for me, and kind of how they get on and the route that they take. But in answer to your question, if you gave me a free £100 bet, I'm going to say whoever they face in the next round might have a bit more bite than them. I've been very disappointed with their front line. So is this a free £100 bet? I think there'd be value on them going out in the next round.
Interesting, and you can get plus 275 on that if you agree. I do agree that they really lack cutting edge in attack. They keep the ball really well, but they need more thrust. They need more urgency. The same criticism could be levelled at England and a few other teams in this tournament. So fascinating to see how they get on the final round of group stage games. We'll start breaking them down in just a minute, but it's your daily reminder, please, to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. That way you will be informed every time we're about to start previewing or a show covering baseball, basketball, UFC, football, soccer, all the different sports we cover at SBR. Head on over to the website as well, sportsbookreview.com. By clicking the link in the video description, you'll read articles from all of our pro handicappers on a wide range of subjects, and I think you'll really enjoy the experience. Anyway, we are starting with Sweden up against Poland in the beautiful city of St. Petersburg. Big game. Sweden have done really well so far. They haven't had a lot of possession, but somehow they're on 4 points. Isak seems to be missing a few chances, but he has been a live wire in attack. Poland battled to a 1-1 draw. Great header there from Robert Lewandowski. They've got a very faint chance of reaching the next round, but they need a win in this game. Delicately poised. George, what are you going for in this one?
Well, for me, I think this game's pretty much got everything you'd need for goals. Only a win will do for Poland if they want to snatch a place in the next round, and it means they've got to commit men forwards. And Sweden, they've got the players to punish them on that break. Forsberg, I think, has been brilliant this season, doing all the basics very well. And as a cohesive unit, Sweden are excellent. They really are. They're a tough nut to crack, and they've kept clean sheets in both of their games so far. And in fact, they entered the tournament with 5 consecutive victories, including 4 of those being wins to 0. So it is hard to score against them. They've also continued that form, like I said, by adding those tournament clean sheets here. They're not conceded as of yet, so it'll be a tough task for Poland to be the first ones to score against them. I was really surprised by the odds on Sweden. I know they're already through, so kind of the impetus to win isn't there. But for me, when they've been odds at around plus 190 before, the expected chance of winning is around 34%. But they've actually won 85% of matches when around those odds or similar, which I thought was staggering. They have seen under 2.5 goals in 4 of their last 5 matches. So as we've already seen from them, they know how to keep things tight and organised, and then relying on players such as Forsberg or Isak to get those goals for them. Because they've scored first in 8 of their last games, over 8 of their last 9 games overall. And I do fear for Poland, because everything's on it for them. They've got to win this game, simple as do or die. But they've kept just 1 clean sheet across their last 9 matches. They've only won 1 of those as well, and that came against rank 158 Andorra. So it doesn't exactly bode well for them there. But both teams have scored in all of their previous 5 matches. They have conceded first in 4 of the last 5 too, but they see a hatful of goals in their games, seeing more than 2.5 goals in 6 of their last 8. So for me, it's a straightforward both teams to score for this one here. I just think Poland, like I said, they're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at Sweden. But I do think they might leave themselves slightly vulnerable at the back. I think Sweden do have a lot of attacking prowess that can hurt this Poland side, and they might catch them wanting. If Poland commit too many men forward, they could get caught on that break, and I think it's going to be end to end. So for me, both teams to score, that was at minus 105. I thought that was a great bet.
Yeah, copy and paste for me, George. Both teams to score has paid off in both of Poland's games so far. I do think their defence is a bit suspect, and I do think that Robin Lewandowski is a quality striker who can gobble up those half chances if they're presented. I do think Sweden are the slightly better team in this one, and I would be leaning towards them to win it. But like you said, there's a real impetus for Poland to try and win this game, because a draw's no good, so they're going to have to take risks, and that can leave space at the back for Isak and co to exploit. So I'm with you on both teams to score. Also quite like a small bet on Isak to just get on the score sheet. He's lit up the tournament, but he hasn't actually put any chances away so far. I've got about plus 180 on him scoring, so I might do half a unit on that. Yeah. Matt, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I think it's quite hard to read, because as you both said, Poland have a real incentive to come out of the blocks and really try and dominate this game. And with Sweden already through, they are in a position of comfort. But equally, I think there is a real incentive for them to try and win this group. Given Spain's struggles, I think there's a real opportunity for them to do that. As you said, Alexander Isak has been a revelation, and La Liga viewers from last season will know that he's a phenomenal striker. Hit 17 in La Liga last season, so he's a real talent, and lots of clubs will be looking to try and prize him away this summer. As for Poland, as you say, Lewandowski is a world-class forward. Would have won the Ballon d'Or last year if it had been held, I'm sure. And he's the one that really Poland will be looking to lead them from the front, both in terms of goals and just in terms of his all-round game. He just lifts the quality of that side immeasurably, almost. Their games have been hard, because the first one I thought they were really poor in the first half against Slovakia. But then they got back into it at half time, and then they had the red card, which kind of conditioned the whole thing. So it's really kind of hard to read where they are, because they got a good point against Spain. They deserved it. Again, Spain were underwhelming, but equally Poland carried a threat of their own. After they did get the equaliser, it was all about defending. But again, if they look to score first, they could be in this. But for me, I don't see that many goals in this game, to be honest with you. I think Sweden are very tight defensively, and Poland, they're going to probably look to take the one chance they might get and then try and defend that. So, yeah, that's the way I see it.
I like it. Sounds good. Thanks, Matt. So we're sort of going for both teams to score. You're going for Sweden and under 2.5 goals. Yeah, there's a slight discrepancy there, but I'm also leaning towards Sweden, and I just think that Poland might get half a chance, and he is deadly in front of goal Lewandowski. Ian Messina in the chat is going for Lewandowski to score at any time. Lots of good comments in the chat. Thanks, guys. A few people asking about Alex. He's just sick. He's got the flu, I think, but we're hoping that he's going to be back by Thursday. The Masked Gambler, thanks very much, says these guys are whack. Not sure what you're getting at there, the Masked Gambler, but take off your mask, reveal yourself. Let's talk about it. Harry Doherty's going for cards. Red Devil 11 thinks goals are a very fair shout, but Sweden can settle for a draw, which scares him. Tough game, but I like 1-1 in this one. I think maybe that would be a good result for me. Okay, we are moving on. Esteban, please. We're going for Slovakia versus Spain, and I'm wearing my Spain shirt just to hype up the occasion. Massive game for Spain. 2 matches in which they've dominated the ball, had all the possession, and they've only managed to score once. As George mentioned, Moreno couldn't put it away from the penalty spot, which was very, very disappointing. And despite all the domination that they've had in games, they have yielded chances. As we said, Isak and Berg missed very good chances for Sweden. And Poland could have had a couple in that game. For all the amount they used the ball, they have the ball. They need to use it better. They need more thrust. They need more urgency. And I wonder if he's going to think about making some changes to his starting 11. What have you heard, Matt, about the team that Enrique might be putting out there for this huge, huge fixture?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the team selection, because there was only the one change between the first game and the second game. But if Spanish radio is to be believed, there could be quite a few changes for tomorrow's game. They reckon Cesar Azpilicueta could come in, Marcos Llorente would be out. They also reckon that Sarabia is in line for a start, as well as Thiago in midfield. And they'll obviously be hoping that Sergio Busquets is back as well. I was looking at the overall record between these sides, and Spain edge it. I think 4 wins out of 6. But interestingly, in one of the most recent games, in 2014, there were European qualifiers, and Slovakia actually won that game 2-1. And curiously, the referee was exactly the same as the one that will be there tomorrow, Bjorn Kuipers. And 5 of those players that started that game started the last game for Slovakia as well. So there's a lot of experience in that team, and they know how to beat Spain, 5 of them. So yeah, I think the team selection, back to your original question, it's going to be a massive one, because the press are out to get Lucho if they don't win this game. The sensations are not good, and there were questions of whether he's going to resign if they get eliminated. He dismissed that out of hand. He said, absolutely no chance. I'm thinking about renewing my contract rather than resigning. So he's staying very firm. His big decision last time to keep Morata, it did pay off, because Morata did score, but then there was only that one goal. And like you say, then the penalty miss was really disappointing, especially for Moreno, who has been so good of late. Yeah, it's a massive one, and I think Spain will just about get over the line, but I think it's going to be very tight. I think a lot more of the same will be seen. I think Slovakia will be happy for the draw, and it's about whether Spain can create enough and get the ball in the back of the net.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, with tongue firmly in cheek, Pronosticos Deportivo says it's going to be 0-0 if Morata plays, which is yeah, he hasn't been firing on all cylinders up front, has he? What do you think? What's your prediction for how this match will turn out, Matt? What would you say would be the final score, do you think?
I think the most likely is probably a 1-0. I know Slovakia will carry a threat of their own, similar to how Sweden and Poland have played. But I think with Slovakia knowing a draw is enough for them, I would be confident that they will approach it in a similar way. They'll be quite deep and compact, look to frustrate, and the longer the game goes on without Spain scoring, the more tense it will be for everyone in the stadium, the players and the coaches. So, yeah, for me, I think Spain, they will find a way somehow, by hook or by crook. Whether one of the changes works, it remains to be seen. It does baffle me. I mean, Thiago, he's got over 50 caps, but you never really feel like he's an established member of that midfield. And he's only played a short amount of time in this tournament. He didn't come on at all against Poland, and he only had a few minutes against Sweden in the opener. So yeah, for him to start would be a real kind of U-turn from Lucho. I think having Busquets back will really settle them down, though. He is the leader of this team. especially in the absence of Ramos. He's the most experienced in the team. His passing range will just give everyone around him a bit of calmness. And yeah, I think eventually it might take a while, but I think they will get the breakthrough. And I do back them to keep it tight at the back as well.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm surprised by the omission of Thiago too. Hasn't had the greatest of seasons for Liverpool, but he was probably the best player in the Champions League for Bayern Munich the previous season, and we know how tremendous his range of passing is and the way he can control the pace of the game in midfield. So I think they're crying out for someone like that who can open up defences with some, inch-perfect through balls. But this game is really difficult from a betting perspective. I don't think they're giving us much value here. I did struggle. In the end, I went for Spain to win at half-time, full-time. I think they've got a point to prove. I think they will come out of the blocks and they will take an early lead here, and I think they can defend it. I can tell you that's what Alex was going for as well. We both had Spain half-time, full-time at -139. It is a difficult game to find value, though. George, I think you're taking a slightly different tack, aren't you? You're staying away from the outrights, and you've got an interesting prop bet for us.
I do indeed, yeah. Similar to yourself, I couldn't find any value in Spain as much as I fancy them. Again, sort of similar to what I said in the previous match. Some of the odds that I found for them was like -556, which is about 1.18 if you do decimals, and which means expected chance of winning is 85%. But Spain have only won 59% of their matches when they're around those odds. There's just no value in betting Spain for the win, in my opinion, and particularly when you throw in. As we said, Slovakia only need to draw with Luis Enrique's side to seal progression. So the temptation's there to kind of shut up shop against Spain, if you like, frustrate them. And Tarkovic might get his side to do that. They couldn't find the target in 10 attempts against Sweden, Slovakia. So against the Spain side, I don't fancy them much to be scoring necessarily. So I think they will just sit tight, sit back, try and break up play, just try and get that draw. That's how I kind of see it going with that one. But yeah, the angle that I was looking at was actually the fouls market. So obviously, as Matt's already alluded to, it's Bjorn Kuipers who's taking this one. He's averaging around 22 free kicks per game this season. I believe that does go up slightly on internationals. But yeah, Slovakia are actually the most fouled side on average at this tournament so far across those two games that have been played. They've been fouled on average 15.5 times per game. They've also been fouled 11 or more times in 13 of their last 15 competitive matches. Spain have to win this to guarantee the qualification, and obviously I'm not sure if it might be too early for Busquets to return for this one. I'm sure Matt will be able to shed some light on that a bit further, but if he was back, I think it could get quite physical in that middle, particularly if Slovakia are trying to sit back. They're going to try and break up that play. Spain are going to give away cheap fouls, in my opinion, when they look to press to get that possession back on the rare occasions that they do lose it. So for me, I have gone on the fouls market just simply with Spain because they're committing an average of 11.5 fouls per game themselves across these two matches they've played. And given it's going to be an intense affair, particularly if it goes late on, they've still not managed to break the deadlock. Obviously, that would be a nightmare for your bet, Martin. But obviously, it could be the case of if they're not winning, say on the 70th, 80th minute mark, it's going to become even more desperate. So for me, Spain to commit over 10.5 fouls, this was on Unibet, -139, that's going to be my play because I think the line's a little bit low. I'd have it closer to around 11 or 12.5.
Interesting. Thanks, George. Yeah, sometimes we get these referees that love to make themselves the centre of attention and really sort of enjoy the limelight and quite relish the opportunity to blow their whistle and bring out the cards. So, yeah, it looks interesting. A novel way to approach a very, very difficult game to handicap. So I like that. Yeah, I do think Spain get the job done because I just don't really rate the Slovakian team that much, to be honest. They were lucky for me against Poland, had that own goal from Szczesny that put them 1-0 up. Then it was 1-1. Poland started to dominate the game, had a man sent off, and they ended up capitalising on their man advantage. But in the second game, they didn't really show much for me against Sweden, and I thought Sweden could have won that more convincingly. So this looks like a perfect opportunity to me for Spain to get their tournament back on track, pick up a vital win, relieve some of the pressure on Luis Enrique, and I can see quite a controlled victory, half-time, full-time for me. Okay, we are now moving on to the reigning European champions taking on the reigning world champions in Budapest. Not a particularly happy hunting ground for France because they just drew 1-1 with the mighty Hungary there. But I think they could bounce back here. We've got a very passionate debate going on in the chat between Ana Monica Marquez and Pronosticos Deportivos. One representing Spain, one representing Portugal. I think Pronosticos Deportivos is kind of trolling a little bit. So play nice here, guys. We're all friends. We're all part of a big, fun, friendly community. But having said that, I think this could be a game in which Portugal struggle. They didn't show much for me defensively in that 4-2 defeat to Germany. Could be a little low on confidence here. And eventually, you've got to imagine that France are going to, come to life in this tournament. They have a point to prove after a very poor performance last time out against Hungary. George, what are you going for?
Yeah, looking at this one, I do worry for Portugal slightly, particularly here at the Puskas Arena. They obviously got off to a flyer with a late showing against Hungary to take that one 3-0, and everyone kind of thought this Portugal side have got something about them. They've got that bit between their teeth, and then that horrible, horrible display at the Allianz against Germany. It was horrific. And it was actually quite funny that the stat that I saw with Portugal's defensive mishaps, it saw them accountable for 36% of the 14 own goals ever scored at Euro finals by the end of match day 2. Like some of the positions they found themselves in and got themselves into, it was worrying, particularly if they want to go far in this tournament. So that needs to be rectified very, very quickly. They're very long odds, naturally, to win this one against the world champions. There's around plus 280. And that gives them a winning, expected chance of winning at 26%. But they've only actually won 1% of the games when they've been priced up similarly in the past. And they've seen more than 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 games. And they've been first to score in 5 of the last 7 matches as well. But they failed to score against France in their last 4 meetings. And yeah, for me, I do think they're going to struggle, particularly when you've got N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, who've started 29 games together for France, and they've lost none of them, never lost. And I'm expecting Kante to stick to Fernandes and just nullify that creative ability that he has and allow the likes of Pogba and Rabiot to cut out the passing lines and really impose himself on that Portuguese midfield. And interestingly, Cristiano Ronaldo hates playing against France because that's who he's played most often without ever scoring. In international football, he's had 6 games, 439 minutes, never found the back of the net against them. So he'll be wanting to break that duck as well, I'd imagine. But yeah, like I said, conceded 4 last time out to Germany. And I think their manager's going to be wary of being exposed in a similar fashion. He won't want that to happen again. So I'm expecting a bit more of a subdued occasion, potentially with both sides probing and patiently trying to work each other out. Deschamps is a pragmatic coach who's done exceptionally well with his system, and he's won the World Cup. He's dominated international football with that way. He's not going to pay attention to those kind of neutrals amongst us sort of saying, "Oh, come on, look at the players you've got at your disposal. Play that expansive, exciting football we all want to see." He's not going to do it. It's a results-driven business, and he's going to stick to what he knows and what's been successful. So for me, I do just think France on that counter, I think they'll keep it solid at the back. Like I said, Deschamps going to continue that way. For me, France double chance and under 2.5 goals at plus 109. I don't think, notoriously in the past, these two sides, when they've met, it's not been very high scoring whatsoever. And I'm expecting another tentative game here. So I think the unders for me is the way to go with France at double chance, because I don't see France losing this, particularly after their slip up against Hungary. I think they'll want to get the job done in a very tight game. So yeah, France double chance and under 2.5 goals.
Okay, thanks, George. Yeah, I think it could well be a tight game. I don't see France losing either. Deschamps certainly is a conservative coach, and so is Fernando Santos for Portugal. That's why I was so surprised to see them concede 4 against Germany. Really were caught out down the flanks. It was both fullbacks, wasn't it? Kimmich and Gosens were really getting in behind, putting in low crosses.
Gosens was brilliant.
To deal with. They were absolutely brilliant. And that does look like a bit of a weak spot for me for this Portugal team. Quality all over the pitch, but obviously Diaz is a very strong centre-back, and the veteran Pepe still going strong. But I think they're missing Cancelo at full-back, and I think that's where you can hurt them. France don't really play like that, but if they really go for it, with Mbappe going down one side and perhaps Griezmann or Pogba bombing down the other flank, I think they can have chances in this game. I think that's just one problem for me they have. So I also think we could see under 2.5 goals in this game. Not expecting a particularly high-scoring match, but I'm just going for a straight France win. I think it's time for them to prove why they're the world champions. Can't see them losing, so perhaps draw no bet is a safer way to go. But I can see them taking all 3 points in this match. Matt, how do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of what you guys have said there. I fully agree that on Portugal's right side of the defence, they were just absolutely atrocious against Germany. I have to confess, I didn't see Germany winning that game, but I was spectacularly proven wrong there. But yeah, I think Nelson Semedo, if he's there again at right back, he'll have a very tough time. We all remember the Barcelona game against Bayern in the Champions League last season, where he was just run ragged by Alphonso Davies. So he could have a similar kind of thing if he's up against, as you say, the likes of Pogba or if Mbappe switches sides. Again, the coaches are both very pragmatic and defensive, and given the other results that we've already seen, France are already guaranteed qualification, so that might make Deschamps even more conservative in his approach. He might also rotate a few players, give them opportunities before the knockout stages. So I think a draw in this one. I think Portugal will be determined to make sure they get through. And I think France will also be quite content to take the draw. I think Ronaldo will finally break his duck against France. It's been his tournament already, really, for breaking records and setting new heights in the tournament. He's now the outright top scorer in the tournament with 12 now. He scored a brace against Hungary, scored against Germany, and now I think he will complete the set here. Again, like you say, I think counter-attack is going to be the way to go for both sides. With the midfield very congested and with a lot of quality in that middle area, I think the transitions will be key and trying to expose those kind of weak points in the defence. It seems that France may make a couple of changes in defence. I think Jules Koundé might come in, perhaps ahead of Pavard, which would be quite interesting because he was one that hadn't made a full cap until quite recently, but he's been superb for Sevilla in the last couple of seasons in La Liga. Another highly touted centre-back coming out of the French system and excelling in top four in Spain. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes if he comes up against Portugal. But yeah, for me, I do think a draw. I like the idea that there won't be too many goals in this one. So yeah, I think a 1-1 could be the way to go.
Interesting. Well, your esteemed colleague Rory gave out an anytime goal scorer tip last week of Griezmann to score, and it came in. Everyone was saying, why wouldn't you go for Mbappe at those odds? And he was like, no, I'm going for Griezmann. Lo and behold, Griezmann scored. So maybe La Liga Lowdown can keep its record of predicting anytime goal scorers going.
Hopefully.
Yeah, he will take centre stage, I'm sure, Cristiano Ronaldo. He always seems to. But yeah, I just think this could be a win for France. Teddy B's asking in the chat about goal difference for Portugal. Yeah, there's concerns there. They do need to get a result in this game after that heavy defeat last time out. But so to France, I think there's a motivation for France to top the group. I mean, the winner of Group F secures a relatively comfortable clash against the team that finished in third. The runner-up of this group, you could be taking on England in the next round. Now, perhaps France might not feel too daunted by the prospect of facing England after the evidence we saw in that Scotland game, but I think you'd rather face a team like England later in the tournament. So I see a motivation for France to win this game and finish top of the pile, and I think they can pull it off. So I'm going for a straight France win. But thanks, guys, for your picks. The next one is Germany versus Hungary. Now, I think Hungary were responsible for busting a lot of coupons over the weekend. Not many people expected Hungary to get a result against France. That was one of the ones that let me down, to be honest. I thought France would surge to a comfortable victory in that one, but they were resolute at the back. They had a passionate home crowd roaring them on, and they battled to a famous 1-1 draw against the mighty world champions. Can they repeat the feat? I mean, they're not going to have that partisan crowd roaring them on in this game. They have to go to Munich, where they're not going to get the greatest of reactions from a passionate German crowd. I think Germany could turn the tables on them on this one. They've they'll be in fine spirits after that 4-2 victory over Portugal. Matt, what do you think? What are you going for in this game?
I'm going for a Germany win. As I say, before the tournament, I didn't have many hopes for Germany, but that performance against Portugal has kind of shifted my thinking quite a lot. I thought they were very impressive in all aspects of the game, really. And I think, as you say, Hungary, without that partisan crowd, they are going to find it harder to kind of be resolute and hang on for as long as they did against Portugal and against France. I think Germany they have the winds firmly in their sails now, and they're going to kind of, you can see them just gearing up and getting ready for the knockout stages. And we all know that Germany in major tournaments are always going to be a threat if they make it through to the knockouts. And I think they will look to get the job done in front of a home crowd. A lot of the chat before the games were dominated by whether or not UEFA would allow them to illuminate the stadium in the LGBT colours. So that's been the kind of controversial build-up. But there hasn't been too much talk of the kind of the play and the tactics. I was very impressed with Kleinheisler in the Hungarian midfield. I thought he was very good against France. When you consider he was up against Kante, and I thought he held his own really well. So it'd be interesting to see if he can go again.
Is he the Hungarian Iniesta, or is he the Hungarian Scholes, or something like that?
I think it was Scholes, they said, didn't they? Just because of the hair. But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad of a comparison. I think he was very composed, and yeah, he just ran his socks off. And as you say, against Kante, you need to do that. And a lot of the German midfield, it's kind of more illustrious in terms of technical and kind of they like the time on the ball. So if they can get hustled and harried, maybe Hungary can sense a chance there. But no, I think overall, I think Germany will win this, and I think there will be more than 2.5 goals in this game, because this group seems to be the group of goals as well as being the group of death.
Interesting. Yeah, Germany just looks superior to me in every department. I think Hungary really benefited from that home crowd against France, but I wonder how much energy they exerted in that performance. Now they have to travel to Munich to face a very confident, very fired up German team that will want to win and surge through to the next round of the competition on a high. So, yeah, I'm going for a pretty convincing Germany win here. What did I go for as my tip? I went for Germany to win 2-0. I just think they'll have a point to prove. I think they'll want to keep things a bit more resolute at the back because they've conceded in both matches so far. I think they can control this game and pick up a pretty comfortable win. What do you think, George? How do you see this one?
Well, I mean, so I was originally on very similar lines to you, Martin. I was thinking, Germany win 2-0 here. So I want to look more into it. For me, obviously, I definitely think it could happen, probably should happen. But it was just the fact that, both teams have scored in 4 of their last 5 matches. They even conceded to Latvia, which I was a bit sort of, I know they absolutely dominated them, and it's easy to kind of just sort of relax when you're 7-6, 7-0 up. But yeah, and I just think Hungary, as we saw against France, they have that ability. Admittedly, they're not going to be in the Puskás Arena at this point with 60,000 fans behind them, but Germany do give chances. And there's a concern with the back line of Germany in terms of some absentees, maybe. So yeah, I was kind of looking at it for me. No, Germany could still suffer elimination in successive tournaments for the first time ever, but they've averaged an encouraging 2.6 goals per game across their last 10 home internationals, where they've won 5, drawn 3, and only lost 2. But it's just the defence that improvements are still needed for me. They've only had 3 clean sheets in their last 16 games overall. But Germany have limited their opponents to under 3.5 shots on target in each of their last 7 internationals. So despite the dodginess in defence, teams are very efficient against them. They don't have a host of chances. They don't have a lot of chances against Manuel Neuer. So that's in their favour, definitely. But I think Hungary will look at that and think if they can get a chance that they could score, as other teams have done before them. What's crazy is Hungary can potentially still qualify from this, what was dubbed the group of death, which is just unthinkable at the start. And they could go through in second place if they win on Wednesday and Portugal lose. But even if they were to win and Portugal win, second place would be decided on goal difference. But they'd finish third if they win and the other game is drawn. So, yeah, they're the 37th ranked nation, but it's a completely different kettle of fish, this game for me. This isn't at the Puskás Arena where they've got all of those Hungarians behind them, where it's just a very, very hard atmosphere to kind of play in, as has been attested to by a number of players that have visited there. it's at the Allianz, and Germany have got an excellent record on home soil. They really have. They've got just 3 losses in their last 22 when playing in Germany. But yeah, they've managed to keep both Portugal and France at bay for over an hour before conceding. So they know how to keep things tight early doors, and those games were in front of a packed Puskás arena. So you just sort of think, can they still maintain that record away in Germany? Keeping things tight early on, and I think they can. I think they'll battle. I think they'll fight. And from what I saw of Germany and Portugal, we've already covered Portugal's defensive lapses. They were just atrocious at the back, and I don't think Hungary are going to be as disorganised as that. I don't think they're going to go into it with as much. I wouldn't say Portugal were arrogant, but I felt that they felt they were a lot more kind of superior than they were against this German side, and they thought they could contain them relatively easily, and it just wasn't the case. And I think Hungary will have seen that. I don't think they're going to give any chances. They know that Germany are a massive team, and they're somewhat minnows in this group, and they're going to put it all on the line to try and cause problems, try and upset them and frustrate them, if anything. So for me, I do think Germany win. There's no doubt about it. For me, it's just the fact that Hungary, they're also averaging the fewest shots per game in total out of anyone so far this tournament, just an average of 5 per game. And given the fact that Germany limit teams to the shots on target, it's under 3.5 shots on target in their last 7. I don't necessarily see Hungary getting forward that often, but they've always got a chance. So for me, I think Hungary keep it tight. I think they frustrate Germany for as long as they can. I do like a Germany win, but I think there's going to be under 3.5 goals. I don't see there being 4 goals in the game. Maybe a 2-0 Germany win for me, but I don't see there being 4 goals. And I think the draw with France, maybe with Hungary, could have taken a lot out of them physically and mentally. So that's why I do think Germany get the job done here, but I just think Hungary frustrate them. So for me, Germany win, under 3.5 goals, plus 110.
Okay, that could work out for me too, because as I say, I'm going for Germany to win 2-0. I also think Hungary will hold out for quite a while, but ultimately for me, that quality of Germany is just going to shine through. I can see them dominating the game in midfield with Kroos and with Gundogan. It might not matter too much for me if there's defensive changes, because I think the defenders on the German bench are just as good as the ones that play in the starting 11. None of them are particularly great, but like you say, Hungary don't show a great deal of ambition going forward, and I can see Germany controlling the ball in this game in Munich. So yeah, I think we can see a relatively comfortable, low-scoring win for Germany in this match. We're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet there. So Matt's going for over 2.5 goals. So maybe 3-0. Maybe 3-0 to Germany. That would be good. On that note, Esteban, could you please bring up the picks and I'll read them out for our wonderful viewers. Okay, so George is going for over 10.5 Spain fouls at -139. He's got both teams to score at -104 in the Sweden versus Poland game. And he's going for France draw double chance and under 2.5 goals in a same game parlay at +109 in their match. He's also got Germany to win and under 3.5 goals at +110. So we really do need a 3-0 win for Germany in that one. Matt has gone for the big odds. Matt's going for Sweden to win and under 2.5 goals at +500. He's got Spain just to win by a single goal at +285. Like the look of that one. He's got France draw with Portugal and also both teams to score at +350. So we're looking at 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, something like that there. He's also got a bet on Ronaldo to score at any time at +210. Large set of odds there on Ronaldo when you consider his goal-scoring record. And he's going for a Germany and over 2.5 goals at -175. I've got Spain to win at half-time, full-time at -139. I'm also going for both teams to score in that Sweden versus Poland game at -104. I've got a money-line win for France at +136. Not sure if those odds are still available, but you can get good money on a France win in that game. And I've just got Germany win 2-0 at even money, +100. Thanks very much, Esteban. And thanks, everyone, for all your tips in the chat. It's great. Matt, everyone that's come on, I've asked them who's going to win the tournament. Most have said France, to be honest. Would you concur with that, or do you have a different selection?
I probably would have concurred with that before the tournament started, and perhaps even after the first round of games. But I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go for Italy. I think they're I think they've been phenomenal. The run they're on, I know people will say, oh, they haven't played many phenomenal teams yet, but 30 games unbeaten, 10 in a row without conceding a single goal. That is just phenomenal numbers. And over that period of time, it's not just a sample error. So for me, they look quality in all areas. And we saw with the Wales game, they've got a lot of strength in depth as well. I just feel that they're on this kind of real upward momentum, and the country is united behind them. And they look like the most kind of cohesive together side in the tournament, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll go Italy.
Nice, I like it. They were my dark horses for the tournament. I put a little bet on them to win it. One of our guests, Tancredi Palmieri, is Italian, and he keeps telling me I'm jinxing Italy by saying that. So he'll be spitting feathers about all this. But I agree with you. I think they've been brilliant. Just really quickly before we go, Ian in the chat is asking for a 2-team parlay. What of your picks, Matt? What's your favourite one? Which one would you go for as your absolute favourite?
I'd probably have to say the Sweden one. I know the odds are really big for that, but I can see Sweden winning that one and keeping Poland at bay. So yeah, I think that one would be my favourite.
Huge odds for a parlay there, Sweden and under 2.5, but you could just stick Sweden in on the money line if you're doing a parlay. Straight Sweden win. What are you going to add to that, George?
It's got to be. When I used to choose the Sweden-Poland game, so I really fancy both teams to score there, but I will go with Germany and under 3.5.
There you have it. Sweden under 2.5 goals, Germany and under 3.5 goals. You know what? With parlays, when you're putting them both together, you could go for both. You could go for Sweden and under 4.5, just to give yourself a better chance of success. All right, brilliant. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you both for joining me. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Just before I go, just to reiterate, please give us a thumbs up. Show some love for George. Show some love for Matt on his SBR debut. And please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, and you will learn every time we're about to preview a game in the knockout stages of this competition. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Cheers. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.